Welcome back to the second part of the show. On this part of the show, we want to talk matters youth and socio-economic development. And with me in studio to have that very engaging discussion, well, two gentlemen. One, of course, is Tony Reilly. He is from the British Council, the Kenyan director, and of course, Simon Dirango, who is the head of Next Generation Kenyan Task Force. They're both here in studio to talk to us about what exactly they have been doing with the youth to engage them on creating better livelihoods for them and driving the Kenyan economy forward. Thank you very much, both of you gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yes. So I want to start off with you, Simon, and literally the question for most people is, what exactly is Next Generation Kenya?
Oh, great. Thank you for having us first. Yes. So the Next Generation Kenya is a part of a broader series of research that the British Council has been conducting in countries that are experiencing youth bulges. And Kenya happens to be one of the few countries that have such an opportunity of converting a huge cohort of young people if we can build the right structures and the right policies around them. So we do that by first listening to the voices of young people and then translating those voices in a way that structures, support can be built so that they can be eager but also equipped to contribute to Kenya's development. And I know Tony and I will be talking more around the structure of each of those and what we've been doing in the last year or so. Yes.
Well, Tony, I want to come to you, and the question then would be, why would the British Council be involved in something to do with the youth in Kenya? What's in it for you, especially looking at the fact that we are one of the countries which are deemed to have a lot of potential, but then so much going on in different sectors, politics, when it comes to the economy, that sort of thing, but still a huge number of people who are marginalized.
Yeah, I mean, why the British Council involved in this, Peter? As Simon said, we've done next generation projects in many other countries, including the UK, to see what young people are feeling, fearing post-Brexit. We've done it in Turkey, Ukraine, Pakistan. We launched in South Africa earlier this week, Tanzania, and it's Kenya's turn now. The aim of the project is very much around listening to young people's hopes and fears, amplifying their voices towards better youth policy making. As this is a business program, demographers and economists have identified a thing called the demographic dividend. This is about a time in countries' history where the number of young people and their ratio to dependent populations gives that country a window of opportunity to harness a dividend to drive the country's economy and society. The East Asian tiger economies, Singapore is often singled out among them, harnessed that potential when they had a youth bulge, to use Simon's phrase. It doesn't happen by chance. You have to harness strong economic policies, education policies, to harvest that dividend. So we're trying to make a contribution to that debate about how Kenya can, as you say, harness, grasp, grab the full potential of their youth population.
Simon, what would taking advantage of this youth bulge and literally turning it into an opportunity look like for Next Generation Kenya? Where do we even start?
I think we start by listening. We start by acknowledging that you cannot understand young people at depth unless you involve young people in the research processes that are supposed to harvest their concerns, their fears, their aspirations. So that's where you start first. Then two, you become deliberate in including them in decision-making processes. These would be the policies that are happening. These would be in the private sector as well. And just to imagine, because you asked me, what would harvesting the demographic dividend in Kenya look like? I'll tell you first, it will start by looking like young people feeling that their voice matters. That's the first thing. Secondly, it would also start with young people feeling like their education is attuned to the needs of the labor market. And I think three, and the reason why I'm going here is that these are some of the things on the 17th we'll be articulating when we are launching the Next Generation Kenya report. And I think three, they would also want a situation where they don't feel like they have to immigrate or change their location for them to access opportunities. Obviously, as Tony has said, it's a process. But it's a process that starts by including young people and placing them at the center. Now, the British Council has acknowledged this, and that is why they put out an open call for young people to apply to be part of the task force. Now, the task force that I represent has 3 roles. One is to steer the process through which this research was undertaken.
Yes.
And secondly, of course, is to read through the findings and package recommendations that are youth-based. And thirdly, as we are doing on the 17th, is disseminate those findings. In short, on the 17th, we are calling for an intergenerational dialogue.
Yes.
So that the authority generation can acknowledge in a much clearer way what they hold and what they can do so that Kenya harvests the dividend.
Indeed, very well said there, Simon. Now, Tony, the fact of the matter is that this is a program that has been tried out in other countries. What do you think has been the impact? And then, of course, what would be the low-hanging fruit that we can then start to harvest from this process? We know that the youth are an impatient generation.
They're an impatient but an important generation.
Definitely, yes.
A quick example from Tanzania, where we launched Next Generation Tanzania a year ago, and we, as Simon said, brought together the authority generation to listen to what young people were saying through the research. This isn't just getting a group of young people together and saying, what do you think we need? There's been a huge program of research that we've conducted, 4,000 household surveys across 47 counties in Kenya, some much deeper, more detailed focus group discussion. So this is genuine research that's valid.
Yes.
In Tanzania, I just deviated there a moment. In Tanzania, we launched this report with the minister responsible for youth. The first thing she said is, I want that task force in my office next week to help us in Tanzania review youth policy. So that's one tangible example. But what we hope to do is to surface a really important debate about those more than 1 in 5 young people in the 15 to 24 category. You know, Kenya's population is growing exponentially, 48 million now. By 2050, that will be 100 million. It's a real moment, it's a real opportunity. What we would hope to gain from it is, as Simon said, that people stand up, listen to the insights from the research, and put young people at the center of decision making.
A lot of the time, and this is for you, the youth literally need direction in terms of corporate governance, in terms of skills, in terms of where to go, so as not to repeat the mistakes that have been made by the older generation. Do you think this research starts to speak into conversations such as those?
Absolutely. In fact, this research looked at a number of things. It looked at education, looked at employment, looked at voice, looked at, our lives in context. For instance, would we marry someone from another ethnic community or from another religion? But indeed, when it comes to questions of mentorship, both within and outside the school systems that are required to prepare us for those positions that we aspire, we appreciate that we need guidance. But we also have an understanding of the kind of environment and the kind of exposure that would contribute in a better way to preparing us for that. But we also appreciate that there are certain constraints within the current structure of learning and skilling that sort of inhibit our capacities to do that as fast as we would want. And to give you a teaser of what you expect is, during the launch, we'll be speaking more candidly to that and saying we feel that the education structure as it exists doesn't sufficiently, for instance, prepare us because, one, we do not have sufficient contact with the Tonys and the Wakabas when we want to move into the media as we would want. But we also want that kind of preparation to be respectful.
Yes.
In the qualitative research that is part of the strand that informs the broader report, we found out that a big issue in Kenya is something we call ageism, where we feel dismissed by those whom we deeply respect and we would want to learn from. So we've got, again, to go back to that intergenerational conversation and say, how fast do we establish a relationship where we gain from what you know, but you also appreciate the insights that we have. Yes.
Tony, we are out of time, but one final question. The fact that in the African setting, as he indicated, the youth, children, younger people are to be seen and rarely heard. How do you start to change the mindset such that the other echelons of society then start to literally pay attention?
Well, we hope this project, you know, provides a platform for those young people to engage with the policymakers respectfully, but it's their time. I mean, they are so numerous. The future of the country, harvesting that dividend, depends upon putting them front and centre. So you'll hear a lot more about this on the 17th of April when we launch the Next Generation Kenya report. If people who want to sort of be part of the build-up, Peter, can go onto our Twitter and Instagram accounts, KE_NextGen, or the KE NextGen Facebook page, where people are already beginning to participate in this debate and have their voices heard.
Okay, indeed, quite an illuminating conversation. Then I'll just ask you to repeat the website so that people can literally...
Yeah, we've set up 3 social media channels using the hashtag #MyVoiceCounts, where young people can say...
So the hashtag is #MyVoiceCounts.
Yeah, but the Twitter and Instagram accounts are KE_Twitter, KE_NextGen, KE_ NextGen on the Instagram, and the Facebook page is KE NextGen.
Okay, indeed, there's something for the youth to look out for and start to engage with so they can start to participate in the